All right, so placing my hands on my heart, taking in that deep breath of love and gratitude. So grateful for this time to come together to be the two or more who are gathered in the name and nature of love. Grateful for our willingness to allow our hearts to open more and more fully to hear what the teachings of A Course in Miracles have to say to us and to allow them to be expressed in our lives. So grateful for the opportunity to come together to have a greater understanding, to really take these teachings into our hearts and live them for our benefit and for the benefit of all. So grateful to know that we are completely and fully supported and assisted by all of our earthly and heavenly helpers. We ask that they join us now, surrounding and supporting us, leading us and guiding us during this conversation and throughout our days. And we're so very grateful that we get to share the benefits of our own healing and expansion with everyone because we're one with them. In grace and gratitude, we let it be and know that it is done. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
So chapter 23, the war against yourself and the irreconcilable beliefs. Would one of you like to begin?
Sure. Hi, Penelope. Hi,
There's Robin.
There's Robin. Okay, let me see what I wrote here.
All right.
I did think this was very good. Wrote paragraph 3, sentence 2 through 5. I thought that whole paragraph was really good. The innocent are safe because they share their innocence. Nothing they see is harmful, for their awareness of the truth releases everything from the illusion of harmfulness. What seems harmful now stands shining in their innocence, released from sin and fear and return to love. And return to love. We've all heard that it's so true. It's like if you go into something with love, you get love back. If you go into something with fear, you get fear back.
Yeah.
Hi, Robin. And this just reminded me of, you guys know Byron Katie and the work, right? Okay. Well, I don't know what podcast this was and it wasn't on YouTube, it was a podcast, it was just something I heard, and it just thought of this instantly when I read this. She was somewhere, I don't know where. She was going through a parking lot and she was waiting for her husband. And these two guys sort of pulled up beside her in a truck. And they're like, lady, you need to get in with us, and somebody less enlightened might have been a little fearful, but she doesn't know fear. I mean, she just accepts reality 100% of the time. And she was just like, oh, well, I don't think so. And they kept on giving her a hard time. And she's like, I understand your point. I understand where you're coming from. I'm a delightful person. Who wouldn't want to be in my company? And they just started cracking up. And they're like, girl, you are crazy. It was so funny that she just entered that space with love. And I'm not doing the story justice by any means. It was a great story. She could tell it much better. But just when I read that, it made me feel that the innocent are safe because they share their innocence. And she saw them through love, and she saw their innocence. So that's what showed up. So I thought that part was really good.
Yeah, that's really cool that she didn't let her fear get the best of her, because I think I would have been terrified.
Right. Right.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to share about our reading or anything else?
come on, guys. I mean, I can keep talking, but I don't want to monopolize the whole conversation. I did like paragraph 4, sentence 3. Think what a happy world you walk with the truth beside you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because I was having a little challenge this morning, and my mom, in her beautiful wisdom, just said, "Don't you think God is in charge of the situation?" It was like, bam! I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
God is in charge of this situation. I need to worry not. What a happy world it is if we can just remember who walks beside us. And then this was probably my favorite sentence, and this was paragraph 6, section 4. In kind forgiveness will the world sparkle and shine, and everything you once thought sinful now will be interpreted as part of heaven. I like thinking of the world as something that will sparkle and shine.
Yeah. Yeah, I highlighted after that too, how beautiful it is to walk clean and redeemed and happy through a world in bitter need of the redemption that your innocence bestows upon it. What can you value more than this? For here is your salvation and your freedom, and it must be complete if you would recognize it. It's already done. We don't have to do a dang thing.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Oh, man. Let's see. I also highlighted in paragraph 2, the last couple of sentences where it says, he walks in peace who travels sinlessly along the way love shows him. For love walks with him there, protecting him from fear, and he will see only the sinless who cannot attack. That sometimes feels very challenging. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little distracted. I have 10% of my battery left. I'm just plugging in, so bear with me.
Yeah, in this week, so last Thursday, I had that conversation with my sister about stepping away from doing the caretaking with my mom. And tomorrow is my sister's birthday. And over the weekend, she texted me that she was feeling abandoned. And, you know, I just tried to explain to her that I understand that I'm not abandoning her. I'm not trying to attack her in any way. But it's just not working for me. And it's so hard to stay in that space of being loving. I mean, we were talking about this, Robin, already. And on the breakout call on Sunday. And then today she texted me and said, she's not coming to family dinner tomorrow to celebrate her birthday because she's not feeling very celebratory. And I'm having a really hard time with that because I can understand that. I've had several birthdays since Rudy's been ill that I did not feel like celebrating. And I did it anyway. Because I know my family had gotten gifts and, you know, there were things that were already in place. And so I'm having a hard time with that. That just happened this morning. And I'm still working through it, but
So Linda, I just need to catch up just a little bit. So you actually had do you have one sister?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you had the conversation with her on Sunday. You said that you just needed
On
help
Thursday.
with the caretaking of your mom?
No, I told her that I'm not doing it anymore.
Okay.
Um, over 2 years ago, when we first realized that my mom needed much more care, um, I really thought it would be helpful to put her in an assisted living facility because, and I think I've mentioned this here before, that I felt that she used to be a very social person. And then, and my father was not. He was a loner. He would do well to be a hermit in the woods. And he was her caretaker. And so um, he pretty much alienated everyone around her except for us. Um, and even us, I think sometimes you just tolerated. um, I mean, I knew he loved us, but yeah. And so her world has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, and she's just retreated into this tiny little place within herself. And so my thought was if she would be put into some kind of assisted living that, she probably would be really angry about it at first. And then she would probably make some friends because she's wonderful. She's a wonderful human being. And I feel like it would have been beneficial to her, but she says she doesn't want to go, which I understand because it's scary. She's agoraphobic, so she hates to leave her house, period. Um, and my sister does not wish to put her in any kind of assisted living because she's concerned about the money, which I'm not really sure what that's about because I feel like if we did put her in assisted living, we would be able to pay until we could pay and sell the house and they would have all the assets, whatever. But it's not like they're going to kick her out when she runs out of money. There's funding for that. Um, and so my sister said, let's try it for a year. Well, it's been close to 2 years. It's been
Try
over
what, her living with you, or you guys taking turns caring
us,
for her house?
us taking care of her at her house.
Okay.
With some help from somebody that comes in and helps. We'll try it for a year and see how it goes. And like I said, it's been over 2 years now and it's not working for me. I see my own health and my own energy depleting. I'm not doing as much work as I was able to before, physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I'm not making as much money. And, so we're living off of our savings, and that's not healthy financially. And she's still insisting that, you know, that putting mom in assisted living is not an option. And I know it's way more convenient for me to be a helper with her, but I also know that it's not healthy for me.
Good for you, Linda. I'm so proud of you. I can't even imagine how hard this is. But really,
Because,
take care. If you take care of yourself first, everything else falls into place.
yeah. I
And
mean,
you're
I love my
kind of
mother.
drawing a line in the sand with your sister, and
Yeah.
it's been you guys said a year, and it's been almost 2. So
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
And
unless
last
she's willing
year,
to take care of her full time, I mean, what
right.
else? But I could see how she's kicking and screaming a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know she's throwing a temper tantrum. I know she has a tendency to be a bit of a drama queen, anyways.
Mhm.
And last year was just horrific, with Rudy's transplant and then being in the hospital like 5 times. We were in Pittsburgh for a few days, up to a week. And my mom was in the hospital twice. And it's taken a toll on me. So, I'm just having a really hard time dealing with her fear when I'm not super strong in my own new role as just being a caretaker or caregiver for myself. So,
and that's because you're in transition, Linda.
right,
You know, and you're changing old habits and old patterns and the old way of being. And
right,
so it's a discombobulating time. Use that word. And just know and trust that every day, as you stand fast, God will scaffold and support.
yeah,
And it doesn't mean that we don't get upset and triggered.
right,
Because, oh my gosh, I mean, your sister has seen what you have done in all these years. So it's not surprising that she's rough or feathers are ruffled, but yet it is surprising. Instead of just saying, oh, you know, and so it's a sorrow or a sadness that she can't see your burnout and just your life and with your husband and all that and trying to work and make money and
yeah,
so that didn't happen. That would have been really sweet, but I also know, I mean, just being a witness in a class with you and all of us, being a witness to seeing times when I would have just thrown myself under the bus with what you had in front of you, and you just, you know, you go into the hospital for Rudy and you see all these mistakes and errors and things weren't going. I mean, enough to just really raise Cain, and maybe you did some, I don't know, but just all of that and somehow maintaining this centeredness. And here's just another place to practice holding on to that center and having your trust and faith be revealed. You do it so well. You've done it so well in the past. Yeah. And this feels like just one more, I guess we'll always have something in front of us, but I don't know that they all have to be so horrendous. This feels horrendous because you love your sister and you love your mother.
yeah,
And you would like to be embraced.
yeah.
So as we all hold her and you, she will change her mind. She is going to change her mind. And if not, there will be something there for you to rest in.
Thank you, Robin. I want to trust that. Absolutely.
Or even not change it. You know, can you love her where she's at? And if she chooses not to come and celebrate her birthday, it's her right. And you guys can love her from a distance, you know. I think this is where the tough times come as far as the forgiveness. Can I be true to my word? Can I love my sister and not judge her?
Yeah.
And not judge myself and not judge my mom and I just love, you know, I really like the first chapter more than the second chapter where it just says the paragraph 2 sentence 1. Well, first paragraph 1 sentence 1. The memory of God comes to a quiet mind, which we know that. And then, do you not realize a war against yourself would be a war on God? I just thought that was so powerful. It's like all the times when I hello, yesterday, big boner move, asked a girl, oh, are you pregnant? No. Felt.
I hate that when that happens.
I know. And I know better. I mean, it's like I was in such a happy mood and that just blurted out. But anyway, I digress. But so I was really mad at myself about that. But by being mad at myself, I'm being mad at God. And I'm thinking, okay, God's not in charge here. I wasn't supposed to say that. And I must have been meant to say it because that's what I said. I felt bad, and her face just fell. And one of the nurses came over to me and she's just like, Leslie, it's just about 10 people have asked her that. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, you know. And I just wish I would have said, oh, I'm so happy to see you. It's been a long time, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I forgot my iPad today. I do not like doing this on my phone. Anyway, and then just paragraph 4, sentence 7, the Son of God at war with his creator is a condition as ridiculous as nature roaring at the wind in anger, proclaiming it as part of itself no more. Can you imagine the wind saying, hey, God, I don't want to be part of this nature stuff anymore. I want to be a human being.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yep. I have that too.
Conflict and peace are opposites. Where one abides, the other cannot be. Where either goes, the other disappears. So that's perfect situation when you're in conflict with your sister. It doesn't allow love to enter. Because you can't have both of them at once.
Right.
And Linda, I don't know your sister and I don't know what her spirituality is, but I just know sometimes I get really tired of being the big kid. It's like, you know what? Why do I always have to be the one that follows the spiritual path? Why do I have to be the one to do the right thing? Why do I have to be the bigger person and just, okay, you don't want to come to the party, that's fine. You know, sometimes you just want to be pissed too. And it's just, but you know what? We're far enough along this path that we might do it for a minute, but then it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you know that you have so many of your mighty companions walking with you. And you are not alone in this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know I'm healing this pattern of victimhood and martyrdom that have been in my family for generation after generation. So why would it surprise me that it's as challenging as it is? Yeah.
And so, Linda, you're doing this for all of us because
I am.
all of us have been in that place. And it's just like my story about saying no to the teachers who wanted me to sub every day. and Leslie said it's staying true to your word.
Yeah.
It's just another lovely way to help us recognize what is truth for us and sticking to it with Holy Spirit, you know, embracing us in that. But I want to come back to that paragraph, Leslie, where you just read, and excuse me if I'm repeating it, but I just had this, when I read it this morning, and it is that peace is the state where love abides. That last paragraph where the heading, the laws of chaos. Peace is the state where love abides and seeks to share itself. Conflict and peace are opposites. Where one abides, the other cannot be. Well, we all know this. And where either goes, the other disappears. Well, I've been experiencing what I call the little blessing prayer, that prayer with the divine experiment, and it talks about being your highest and best. And in that blessing, it says, let all conflict be resolved and only love revealed.
Yes.
And for me, after saying that prayer and always inserting let conflict be resolved and love be revealed, I got an aha, and it was like, oh, and it's like the minute I choose, you know, if I'm going to choose conflict, I'm going to have conflict. If I choose love, I'm going to have, the moment I switch over in that little sentence, I don't even have to bring up conflict anymore. I can just go right to love and harmony and unity and oneness. And in that moment, voila, there's your spiritual practice. And you can just go there and with all the chaos, rise above the battlefield, rise above the circumstances with that little tool. or whatever tool that you have in your pocket that comes up easy for you or easily, that you can be at peace.
Yeah,
and I know that you all know all of that, but that it's really been an illuminating insight for me, just to see the moment that we choose love in our minds, all those blocks are gone in a moment. They're dissolved once we choose love, once we choose any of the spiritual qualities in that moment.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that prayer in the divine experiment. I'm definitely going to pull that out again. I have like the paper of it all over my house, so thank you for reminding me that, because that's going to be very helpful, I feel. Yep, thank you. Penelope.
Yeah, I listened to the call from Sunday. That was a beautiful call, and yeah, it's also great because I obviously got the background, Linda, when you were talking on Sunday, and I think it's a beautiful example of holding our spiritual seat. It absolutely is such a beautiful example, and I keep saying this to you, you are such a beautiful example and such a demonstration of all these teachings, I think. And I think it possibly shows through so much because you're going through these like huge challenges. So yeah, you know, you're just brilliant to me, so thank you. Just to what Leslie just said about, oh, she gets tired of being the one that's, you know, like taking the responsibility. Is it something that Jennifer says along the lines of the one whose consciousness is the most expanded is usually the one that does this work within a family? So I kind of, when I heard that for the first time, I kind of celebrated that one because I thought, oh yeah, my consciousness is more expanded. So I'm doing this work. So that felt me a bit better, because I used to get into that one about, oh, why do I have to be the one that's always doing this, this kind of thing? I love this whole 2 chapters, particularly the second bit. Sorry, the 2 sections, not chapters. I love this chapter, particularly the second part. And much of it is around what you've been speaking about. And if I just go to, there's just this line that I kind of quite think is kooky really, is it's paragraph 4 in the first part, and it's let not the little interferers pull you to littleness, which I think is quite cute. And I love the parts where it's saying in the next section, the war against yourself is but the battle of 2 illusions, struggling to make them different from each other. And there is no conflict between them and the truth. And today I got back from a class and I was really a bit frustrated by some things that were going on. I'm close to like finishing the class next week for the summer break. And there's like just some like really kind of just sort of logistical things that I'm getting frustrated with, and 1 or 2 other things. And I got back home and I knew I wasn't like in my center and finding it quite difficult to focus. And I did some Tai Chi, and then as I'm doing my Tai Chi, I was also handing over stuff because I was really quite sort of frustrated by things. And it was interesting because I was handing over, but I was also just kept saying the word God from the lesson today. And in quite a short space of time, something just shifted. And I actually came to read these 2 sections then afterwards. And I thought, yeah, this is just what I've been through. I've been in this conflict, in this battle with the illusions, these constant like between the 2. And as I moved back to my center, it was like, oh yeah, wow, this feels much better. And there was even a point when, before I started handing over, when I was thinking, oh, oh, why am I doing all this? Why am I even teaching these classes? Why am I doing any of this stuff? It's not making any difference. I was that kind of place I was heading, and I just stopped myself. I thought, no, come back into my centre, start handing over. And then, as I say, I read these 2 sections. And when I first started reading it, I thought, oh no, it's going to be one of those times when it's just going to get me even more irritated and annoyed. And it didn't. I kept reading, and it was like, no, it was perfect. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Penelope. Yeah, I loved both of these sections as well. And I highlighted, I think it's in paragraph 4 of the second section, the irreconcilable beliefs, the one that starts with, brother, the war against yourself is almost over, which, thank God.
No.
The last few sentences. Thank God. He loves you perfectly, completely, and eternally. The Son of God at war with his Creator is a condition as ridiculous as nature roaring against the wind. And I think Leslie read that part. And I'm just like, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm roaring against the wind. I'm like, this is not supposed to be happening like this. And that same feeling, like, why do I have to take the spiritual high ground? Because I can. That's why. Oh my gosh. Hi, Corrine. Welcome.
Thank you. I decided to jump in, even though it's late. But
Yeah.
I said I can do the dishes later. He's going to lay down. So. I missed y'all, so I said, let me come in anyway.
Oh, good. Good.
Can I just comment on Corrine singing at the weekend? I just love you singing for those few minutes, Corrine, while you were waiting for the community call.
Oh, I don't remember. This past weekend?
Yeah. You joined, and I think there was just one other person.
Yeah, we were for about 20 minutes. We shared about 20 minutes or something, but I forgot. I guess I must have been in the singing mood.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. What was I singing? I don't remember.
I can't remember.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I love that. That's one of my, as a matter of fact, I just told my husband, who says, why am I so tired? I said, I don't know, dear. And then he wanted to know what kind of vitamin, is there something he could take and what, And I'm like, well, you're not 20 anymore. If you're working, you're going to, maybe it's normal. And I said, well, to tell you the truth, my only vitamin is my spiritual work. I don't take any vitamins. All I do is think of something beautiful, sing a song, whatever, and my energy comes right back up. And it's true, that's what brings me energy, is remembering to sing, to give thanks, and the work that we're doing. So unfortunately, he's not open to that, but it is what it is. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yep, I will be putting some music on after this call, though I'm feeling much better even just joining. I had a busy morning and I didn't have time to process what was going on, but I do intend to write my forgiveness letter for today and write out that divine experiment, because I know that's going to be super helpful. And then put some music on and dance. And
Linda, remember, Jennifer once shared, or maybe she shared it often, that ask Holy Spirit, ask your Holy Spirit to speak to her Holy Spirit. I don't know what that means, yes, but it sounds good to me, and it works. Yes. And ask your angels to gather her angels and bring you together. So just, that's very comforting. And I really actually think it works just in relationships where there's been difficulty, and being able to see it in the light instead of in the darkness. And you're just going to be like, oh my God, this is a miracle. I know you're going to be telling us we're going to be watching a miracle. And I'm just, Corrine, when you talked about remembering my 4 4 sentences that I loved, and I was just underlining everything. But anyway, of course, you all know I'm in love with the word quiet, and I just loved under that the irreconcilable, what is that belief?
Irreconcilable belief.
Thank you. That sentence. And listen, I was outside, sitting in the shade, just so beautiful, and I'm reading this text this morning, and, you know, things pop out, you underline, and when I read this, I read, the memory of God comes to the quiet mind. And it was a jolt. I mean, I just felt spirit run through me, because anywhere the word quiet comes up in the course really brings spirit out for me. It's just palpable. And I just sat there kind of just so happy. And it's like a quiet recognition and a quiet accomplishment that brings such joy when these moments are illuminated, because it's a confirmation and an affirmation, you know. And so that sentence, and then on that next page up top, it talks about, you know, conflict and being untouched and quiet in the peace of God. And then going down that where shining in your quiet mind. For the last month and a half, I've been being more quiet. I've, you know, given up fresh air at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It doesn't mean I'll always have to give up fresh air, but I'm really stopping listening to favorite, well, in the daytime, that would be it for the radio. But I listen to Jennifer a lot all day long. And I'm sorry if I've shared this, but I'm just listening around at 3:30 or 4, and I'm desiring to see and witness my mind as I'm just going about the day, getting used to being quiet, and then what is the deeper dive into? Why am I doing this right now? It feels sort of like, well, I don't know, you know, but I do see where I slip into that lower energy. It's so subtle, because, you know, it's not really fun being at home by myself. I don't want to be out there. And then I'm like, but I am home. And just lately, my energy has been raised to where I am just a glimpse of loving myself and being more comfortable with being with me. And that's where it's at, right? This huge loving yourself. So I guess I'm just sharing in your situation, and all of us, we've all got a story. I think I told mine the other week. I don't know, I forget. But anyway, just coming quietly to yourself where you can hear that small voice, and just returning to that quiet place, that place of calm, I don't know, it's just a tool that I keep bringing up. It works for me, or it's working. There's a part of me, there's all these really sweet, magical stories. Oh my goodness. And then on the other side, it's like, well, is this all there is? So anyway, I'm so delighted to be with this group. I just love it so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here, Robin. I have to tell you that every time I read the word quiet, I think of you. And I highlighted in that section too, in paragraph 9, the very last sentence, where he says, what he loves must forever quiet and at peace, because it is his home. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can just imagine Robin staring at her tree, being quiet, and feeling that space, that
You know, I
home
said
with
this
yourself.
morning, I don't have to go to India. I can sit under my tree, and I mean, it's just this loving embrace from this tree. I love it so much, and I can feel the tree's love for me. It is so gorgeous and beautiful,
Yeah.
and it comes down like a big umbrella. I mean, it's vast. It's been crouching on the house. I think we have to do a little pruning, but anyway, thank you. That's really sweet that you bring my tree up.
Yeah. Thanks, Robin. Does anybody else have anything to share from this reading? Penelope.
So I just wanted to acknowledge what Robin had just said, because I just love it when Robin keeps talking about this, the quietness. And when I read this, the first part of that second section, and the memory of God comes to the quiet mind, I thought of Robin. It is just a fantastic reminder for me, because I know I need to keep working much more on being still and just being quiet. And I seem to have this resistance to doing it still. And it's actually in my contract to be still and listen, affirming spiritual truth as I extend love in every moment. It's just I'm very resistant to the being still bit. But yet when I do go to that place, it's exquisite. And so, yeah, I love it when Robin keeps reminding me, so thank you.
And I'll just share that it's not easy. I mean, I'm like, you know, so there is that little, and then but if you can just get to it, then you're like, oh. I just wonder why being called to heaven, why we would choose differently. You know, what is this all about? Thank you, guys. I feel that lovely connection with all of us. And I know it's time to end, and I'm being kind of a blabbermouth today, but I had so many wonderful insights this morning, so I'm kind of riding high. And one of them was Marjorie spoke. I was at summer camp last week and wasn't available, but you spoke, Marjorie, of Linda, your friend Audrey, losing her son. And Marjorie spoke of how you are holding her and we are holding you. And I heard something different, Marjorie, that really was uplifting, and I don't know if I have it correct, but it was somehow in our holding another person who's going through such a horrific time, we are holding them, and it allows them to grieve. It allows them to go just to whatever deep, unfathomable feelings when being in that kind of concern. And anyway, it just spoke to me so beautifully, Marjorie, and I just want to thank you for that. I saw it. I saw holding space, because I say those words all the time, and they mean they are very deep and meaningful for me. But I got to see them in a different way that was deeper from your share. I don't know if you remember that or not. But.
Oh, thank you very much. That reminds me, I think it was Barbara Marx Hubbard that said something about, I feel you, feeling me, feeling you. You know, so it really kind of brings it full circle, you know.
Yeah.
But you're welcome. I don't know if we have time. I had put something on the little WhatsApp thing that I wanted to read it to you if you have time. I don't know if there's time.
Yeah, we still have 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. So what I had put on there, this was actually a spiritual mind treatment, which is affirmative prayer from my friend who was a retired Signs of Mind minister. And then I had responded to him. And he wrote this, I think, in response to what a lot of people on Facebook were going through about making comments and the whole political thing that's going on with the debates and all that stuff. And so he wrote, I am free of the need and the capacity to be knocked off balance by the comments or actions of others. I see the need for all kinds of expression by those who are on their own path or who may be trapped by unconscious biases. I help where I can, but take no responsibility for the behaviors of others. My life is an unfolding affirmation of possibility. I do not react with fear. I respond with love. I am comfortable with who I am and willing to be uncomfortable in the fact of what I do not understand. I know that my good is not affected by the limitations of others unless I give them that power. I hold my power within. I continually scan my responses to ensure my consciousness is one of love, power, peace, and compassion. With deep and abiding gratitude, I release these words into the creative field we call mind. And so it is, Jim Lockhart. And then I responded by saying, thank you, Jim, for this offering. Because I am a spiritual being having a human experience, I also am willing to allow my humanity to experience whatever it needs in order for me to develop the capacity to respond rather than react in any given moment. I also recognize I would not be able to discern the limitations of others without first acknowledging those limitations within myself. I am willing to engage in the life experiences that are here for my learning so that I am not afraid to be fully human. Generally speaking, I best learn by taking baby steps, which means that I might be knocked off balance many times in life in order to develop the muscles that are needed to maintain my own innate spiritual intelligence that inevitably brings me back into balance. This innate spiritual intelligence must be allowed to develop, as it may remain dormant unless I am open for its expression. It is what enables me to behave in such a way as to maintain a sense of well-being and peace, regardless of conditions. I am willing to dance with the polarities that create balance, without judgment as being any kind of restriction or limitation. I honor and welcome them as part and parcel of an integral approach to my world. Integrity is a vulnerability that disguises nothing. One of the best ways that I can be of service to others is to allow them to see me, both in the depths of my humanity and in the heights of my divinity, for these are actually one. By releasing this awareness into the field called mind, I then become a willing participant in the collective mind, which provides the perfect container that is the sacred vessel for co-creation with all. The so-called other and I are one with the one. Yeah, thank you. And I really, that just came through me. That was like a spiritual mind treatment of my own in response to his spiritual mind treatment, coming from the tradition of science of mind, which is very, very similar to A Course in Miracles. But I can say this in a spiritual mind treatment, and yet I also can easily be triggered as well. And so I kind of am learning to accept that all of it, even being triggered, whatever happens, because it's happening, it must be happening for some reason that I don't necessarily need to know why. But especially this whole thing about the politics. I mean, I happen to be a volunteer for Marianne Williamson's campaign here in North Carolina. And it's, you know, things are starting to look forward, going forward for her. She's starting to get some recognition, but she's also coming under fire. And, you know, now that she's in the game, she's going to start to have to deal with all the stuff, you know. And so we're just praying for her and for all the candidates, you know. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. And I think it sort of goes along with today's lesson, and certainly goes along, I think, with the discussion that we were having about being triggered and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for letting me share this. I appreciate the opportunity to share. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks, Marjorie. Thank you, too, for your volunteering with Marianne's campaign. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I hope more of us can do that.
Yeah, thank you.
As Marjorie shared, it reminded me of something that Jennifer said recently that I and I can't quote it exactly, but she said, when we're coming from spirit or love, then we will feel, you know, in the flow of love. And when we're coming from ego, that's where we're going to feel triggered, bothered, and out of the flow of love. And she said, but when we make that error and that mistake, it's bringing up what needs to be healed. Mm-hmm. She said it's a win-win. It was lovely. She said whether you are coming from spirit and you're in the flow, or you're coming from ego and you're making a mistake, it's a win-win, because the mistake is helping you to bring up whatever it is you need to heal. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was really a relief.
Yes.
Okay. You know, Carla is always saying you can't make a mistake, you can't make anything wrong, and I'd be like, I don't know about that, you know, loving what she's saying, but I finally kind of got a glimpse of understanding. So anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sort of see it as, and I definitely can, you know, agree with what Jennifer was sharing there, that, I mean, how are you going to build that spiritual muscle if you don't get knocked off balance from time to time? Because I think that's actually by divine design. You know, I mean, if we were all just in pure bliss all the time, first of all, it probably would get a little boring. Maybe, I don't know. But, you know, there's time to me, I sort of feel like there's time for that, because I came from spirit and I'm going to go back to spirit. But while I'm here, I have a body, I can see, I can hear, I can smell, all those things that I won't be able to do once I'm back in spirit again, you know. And I think that hopefully, I mean, that's why we were created in the first place, so that God could experience herself or itself or himself as a human being that can actually manifest and walk around in the world and do things, you know, because other than that, spirit is spirit, you know. Of course, it has all these powers. I mean, it can certainly do huge things, but I think it was looking for a way to just experience itself. And so however we do that, and making mistakes is one way to actually do that, because that's what helps you to come back into balance. I apologize for the traffic noise. I'm sitting outside in a gazebo, and I have lovely birds around and beautiful things to look at in nature, but I'm also right next to the highway. So it's a juxtaposition of nature sounds and the traffic all together.
And it's all good.
Yes, I've gotten used to the traffic sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Marjorie.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything to add before we close out? Penelope.
Just that last part that Margie was just talking about, and I think there's a beautiful section in this second part. It's paragraph 5. The war against yourself was undertaken to teach the Son of God he is not his self and not his Father's son. For this, the memory of his Father must be forgotten. I actually like the whole of that paragraph there. I won't read it all, but I think that just sums it up. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. When I'm in a war against myself, then I'm not myself. Yeah. And I've only forgotten, and that's okay.
Yeah, it sort of puts a new sort of higher feeling about forgetting, because in order to remember, you must first have forgotten. Otherwise, you're not remembering, you know. So it really puts a different light on it, and it makes the forgetting seem not so bad, you know, because it's, especially in relation to things like Alzheimer's, because that's all about forgetting, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yet when I was taking care of my mother, there were moments, it didn't happen too often, but there were moments when I was able to go into her world with her and communicate with her wherever she was, you know, because she wasn't remembering a whole lot in the actual physical world. Although she never got to where she didn't recognize me. That was nice. But just being able to enter her world and forget with her, and then every once in a while something would come where, especially if I was able to be with her, she would have this sort of like her eyes would light up, and it's like she remembered something again. It was just really kind of cool.
Corinne, and then Leslie.
Thank you, Marjorie, for talking about your mom. It just reminded me to ask for you all to just keep her in prayers, because one of my sisters, somehow she has like completely forgotten about. I mean, she knows everyone, and she can't even name, when she's naming her kids, she names her. But when there's the second daughter, and when she was there last time, she was there a few months ago to help my sister with her surgery, she was asking my other sister, the youngest one, who is that lady, So she was not remembering that sister. Anyway, all that happened. My sister left, but now my sister's going back again to visit her today. Actually, she's going to spend a week with her while the youngest one travels. And I don't know how it's going to be for her. She does know what it is, but some time ago, she had asked me to pray about it, and I didn't share it then, but I'm sharing it now because since then, she hasn't remembered about praying or anything like that, and she says that she knows that it's her daughter, but when she's with her, she's just got no connection. There's no connection. So I don't know what that's all about, because my mom has 8 children, and this is her number 2. And it's a mystery, but whatever it is, hopefully this time that they come back together again, that's something, the highest and best will happen for both of them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Corinne. Yeah, that's got to be tough. Yeah, that's one of the fears that I've had in the back of my mind too, is that my mom not remembering who I am. Because that has to be so challenging when you've got memory issues, with the loved ones that you're dealing with. So thank you for sharing that, and definitely we'll keep her in our prayers. What's that sister's name? Sister number 2.
She's in English it would be Mary Helen. When we say Marie Hélène in French. Marie Hélène.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Linda, I just wanted to say the blessing prayer to you before I go, and that goes for everybody, Corinne and your sister, and any challenges we are all facing. Just bless this situation. May all concerned be blessed in all areas of their lives. May all conflict be resolved and only love revealed. I am one with all concerned, and for this I am truly grateful. May all beings benefit from this prayer, and so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Love you guys. I'm sorry I can't stay for the closing.
Thank
See
you.
you guys later.
Bye.
Be praying for you all.
And us for you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Well, I've done this many times today because my lesson is I call upon God's name and on my own. And how appropriate was that, after getting that text from my sister? It's like, oh, dude, you really have to throw that in my face. Oh, but yeah. So, Pathways of Light, Insights to Lesson 183, I call upon God's name and on my own. As I read this lesson, I was aware of my resistance coming up. As it said, repeat God's name again and again. I was mentally wishing that it would say what God's name is. Spell it out for me. I want it to say God's name is XXX. Say only XXX. That is a typical ego attempt to make rules that separate. If the Course said, this is the name of God, it's God calling, this is the name of God to use, then the ego would have a basis to say that anyone who doesn't use that exact word is not praying to God and will not be saved. Thus, the ego would use this name of God to separate instead of unify. What I get out of this lesson today is that it is leading us to recognize unity as all-encompassing and indivisible. It does not matter what word we use for the name of God, as long as it represents to us unity and love. It may be the meaning we give the word God does not represent his unity and love. It may instead bring up feelings of guilt and fear because we have not yet forgiven God for our projections on him, that he is the judge and punisher. In that case, it may be more appropriate to use another word, such as love. In ACIM, we are taught, God is but love, and therefore so am I, which parallels the title of today's lesson, I call upon God's name and on my own. The key to me is that I use this exercise of repeating God's name to help me focus on the unity of love that is real, to the exclusion of all thoughts of separation, individuality, and differences. It is the experience of uniform, changeless, all-encompassing love this lesson is leading me toward. It is leading me to remember myself as I was created. As I repeat God in my mind, sometimes interchanging it with love, I had a taste of that unity. I began to feel more peaceful. Thoughts of all the to-dos and things of this world were laid aside. A feeling of quiet joy grew in my heart. I do not feel I fully achieved the recognition of complete unity, but I got a taste of it. I am truly blessed and motivated to continue on with the practice. I know this is what I want, and I am grateful to have the means with which to reach it. In the movie Phenomenon, John Travolta tells his friend to pick up an eraser and erase the words he wrote on a page. Then he told him that this is like erasing all the fear that stands in front of our seeing the love that is there. The fear comes from all the images we have made in the attempt to replace God. All the names that represent individuality or separation that are taking the place of our remembering God need to be erased. As we do this erasing process in our lives, we will find more and more that only God is there. In today's lesson, it is a process that is much like the eraser that John Travolta was talking about to his friend. As we let God's name replace all the little names we have given everything in this world, it is making an open space where we can remember God, our one self. I see that this as our life's work. This is forgiveness. This is letting go of what has never happened in truth. This is what we receive when we ask for a miracle. To me, God's name is universal love, and universal means everywhere and everything. Today's lesson is a very useful process for returning my mind to oneness. When I have created something that appears very fearful to me, and I am like a little child hiding under the covers while having a fearful nightmare, this practice can clear an open space where I can see it is just a nightmare, and it was never really true at all. Only universal love is real. All the names need to be erased through my willingness. I get what I focus on, and today my practice is to focus on the presence of universal love, as this is all I want to see. This is what I will see. It is my choice today. Which will I choose? Next week, as I turned to my book this morning, when I was reading my sister's text, and anytime any of you have any suggestions, I'm way open to that. But I'm looking at chapter 4, section 3 and 4, and it's love without conflict. And this need not be. That's just where my mind went in those moments. So that's what we'll be reading for next week.
Sounds good. Thank
I
you.
have one suggestion or just something to consider. Not so much in this class because we're studying the text of Course in Miracles, but I know that Marianne Williamson wrote many years ago, A Return to Love, which is basically she calls it the Cliff Notes to A Course in Miracles is what she calls it.
Yes.
And it would be, I think, I've been rereading it, and I have it on audio tape as well. And it's just, I think it's an appropriate time with her running for president right now to reread that from so many years ago. It was about 30 years ago or something that she wrote that.
Yeah, it's been a while. I know it's been a while since I read it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just something to consider.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can do like an offshoot of this. Because I would really like to stay in A Course in Miracles text for this particular group. But, maybe we can set up another day, another time to read that and discuss it as well. So,
that'd be wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
That would
Yeah,
be
you're
pretty
welcome.
cool. That would be pretty cool.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being my answered prayer. Thank you for all the support. Praying for Mary Helen.
Marilyn. Yeah, thank you. Yes, and my mom is Evelyn.
Evelyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep her both in mind.
And this is a phrase in A Course in Miracles, and it says, only loving thoughts are true. So if you are thinking anything other, you can take that eraser and erase the unloving thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. Bye.
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 I'll be in summer camp next week.
Okay. We'll enjoy those kids.
Bye.
Bye-bye.